And for all the live viewers who's watching us live right now, a warm welcome, Nithyanandam, to all of you. Let's now start by invoking the grace and blessings of our beloved Swamiji by chanting the Sadguru Vandanam. Nityanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvaतीतं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वमस्यादिलक्ष्यम् एकं नित्यं विमलमचलं सर्वदी साक्षिभूतं भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि. The next is the chanting of the Shiva Mula Mantra. So I request all the participants to please chant along with us. The acharyas are going to be chanting out loud. We request all of you to please follow along and chant it internally within yourself. Om Shivaya Namaha. 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 Om Shivaya. The next is the Tatvachamadam, the ritualistic cleansing. Now, bringing your right hand to Gokarna Mudra, bend your index finger and cupping your palms. Pour the water in the center of your palm. Sip the water 3 times as the word Swada is chanted. Om Atmatattvam Shodayami Swada. Shodayami Swada. Shivatattvam Shodayami. Water from the Panchapatram. Now, the base of your right hand thumb, move now, with the tips of your right hand, index, middle, and ring finger touch above your upper lips and below the lower lips. With an index finger and thumb joined together, touch right nostril, left nostril. With the tips of your right ear and your left ear. Wash your right hand with water from the Panchapatra. The next is the sankalpa, the conscious resolution. Now, clasping your right hand above your left hand and keeping both the hands in your right thigh, close your eyes. Take a minute today to manifest, to consciously visualize what is it that you want to manifest. Visualize it as detailed, as vivid as possible. And we begin chanting the Sankalpa mantra. ममोपात समस्त दुरित क्षय द्वारा भगवत श्री नित्यानंद परम शिव प्रीत्यर्थम श्री नित्यानंदेश्वरी परम शिव शक्ति समेता श्री नित्यानंदेश्वर परम शिव प्रीत्यर्थम च अद्य पूर्वोक्त एवं गुण विशेषेण विशिष्टायाम् अस्यां शुभदितौ पूर्ण आरोग्ययुक्त दृढ़गात्र यौगिक शरीर सिद्ध्यर्थम परमशिव शक्ति आविष्करणार्थम नित्यानंद योगाभ्यासम करिष्ये. Please wash your hands with water from the Panchapatram. Om Apopasprisha. And I request all the participants and all the live viewers to please move your Panchapatrams aside. They do not come in your way when you're doing the Nithyananda Yoga. And before we enter into today's Nithyananda Yoga, for all the participants here in Kailasa Guinea-Bissau and in Kailasa Tiruvannamala, and for all the live viewers who's watching us, joining us live right now, a quick disclaimer for all of you. All the instructions and guidance given during Nithyananda Yoga are intended only for educational purposes only and general wellness. They are not to be taken as or used as a replacement for any professional medical advice, diagnosis, or any treatment. If you have any known health conditions, illnesses, or injuries or diseases, please consult your medical health professional or your doctor before participating in the Nithyananda Yoga. At all times, please follow the advice and guidance of your medical health professional. If during the practice of the Nithyananda Yoga you feel tired, ill, dizzy, weak, or even uncomfortable, please immediately restrain yourself from doing the yoga and take some rest. Once you are fully recovered and feeling stable, you may continue the practice of the Nithyananda Yoga if appropriate. During the Nithyananda Yoga, please remain in complete awareness and listening with your body. Do not exceed your body's limits and capacities, as we understand and recognize that every individual's body functions differently and uniquely. So, it is important to respect and remain in awareness of your own body's limits and capacities while you're practicing the Nithyananda Yoga. And one more thing, for all the participants who are here in Guinea-Bissau and Tiruvannamala, if you want any help in doing any of the yogasanas, feel free to reach out to our co-acharyas, to our acharyas over here. They are here to guide you and support you, make you feel successful in doing the Nithyananda Yoga. And if you are a live viewer watching us live right now, go ahead, post a message. Please post a comment in the live comment section, and we'll immediately reach out to you and guide you and support you in the Nithyananda Yoga. So without any further delay, let's now enter into today's sequence.
In Vamashakasana, you'll be seated with one heel drawn in close to the perineum and the opposite foot resting comfortably in front, allowing the hips to ground evenly, lengthening your spine, interlacing your finger in front of your stomach, keeping your hands relaxed and steady in Parashumudra, where you place your palm upon your palm and interlace the fingers firmly in Shanta Kumbhaka, which is inhale and visualizing the prana, the vayu, being inside and outside the body, holding your pelvic muscles in Mula Bandha with the straight gaze with the japa Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham, visualizing yourself as a strong branch extending from the stable trunk, supported at the base, yet free to reach outward without any strain. In Vama Shakasana, Vamashakasana. The next is Vyakyanasana. Now continuing to be seated with one foot um, towards the perineum and the opposite foot resting comfortably in the front, and place your left hand in front of your mouth, keeping the arms relaxed, and rest your right hand on top of the right knee with the index finger and thumb touching together in the Mula Bandha, in the Bindu Mudra, in Vaishnavi Mudra, which is holding the outer vision steady without blinking while awareness remains inwardly absorbed. In Shanta Kumbhaka, which is inhaling and visualizing the prana vayu being inside and outside the body. In Mula Bandha, which is firmly contracting the pelvic muscles with the straight gaze, with the japa Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham, visualizing the knowledge flowing outward with clarity and restraint, as if the words arise only when the understanding is complete. In Vyakyanasana, Vyakyanasana. The next is Nivrityasana. Now, in Nivrityasana, continuing to be seated in the same posture with one leg towards the perineum and the other leg rested comfortably on top, bringing both your palms together in front of your chest with the fingers interlaced, closing your eyes and softening your gaze forward. And with your gaze in the Vaishnava Mudra, which is holding the outer vision steady without blinking while the awareness remains inwardly absorbed. In Shanta Kumbhaka, which is visualizing, inhaling and visualizing the prana vayu being inside and outside the body in Mula Bandha with the straight gaze with the japa Om Nithyananda Pramashoham, visualizing Bhagavan in your heart as a radiant infinite light. In Nivrityasana, सुखासनं समास्थाय हस्तौ वक्षसि संहत्य अरिहन्त भगवन्तं कायवाङ् मनोभिस्मरन् सर्वेप्सि स्थानि परित्यजेत्. The next is Atmalingasana. Sorry, Atmalinasana. Now in Atmalinasana, you start seated with one heel drawn in towards the perineum and the opposite foot resting comfortably in the front, lengthening your spine as you bring your palms together in front of you, opening them so they face towards your body, and lean your upper body forward and gently lower your forehead upon to your open palms, allowing the neck and shoulders to relax. In Vaishnavi Mudra, holding the outer vision steady without blinking while the awareness remains inwardly absorbed in Santa Kumbhaka, which is inhale and visualizing the prana vayu being inside and outside the body. In Mula Bandha, which is contracting the pelvic muscles with the gaze at the tip of the nose and the japa Om Nithyananda Paravashivoham, visualizing the sense of me dissolving inward as if awareness folds back into itself and rests onto the source. In Atmalinasana. Atmalinasana. The next is Makarasana Dve. Now in Makarasana Dve, you are going to lie down with your um, lie down on your belly with legs extended and the feet hip width apart. Place your hands behind your head, elbows wide, engaging your back and glutes to lift your chest, head, arms, and thighs off the ground, hovering in a strong, straight Superman hold. You are lifting your chest, head, arms, and thighs off the ground. In Shambhavi Mudra, keeping your eyes open and steady, gazing outwards while awareness rests deeply within. In Samavriti, inhaling through the nose and exhale evenly, maintaining the rhythmic breath without strain. In Mulabandha, which is firmly contracting the muscles of the pelvic floor, lifting upward without tension. And Prithvi Drishti, which is the downward, with the eyes gazing downwards with the chant Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham, visualizing yourself as a crocodile resting calmly by a serene river bank, embodying patience, strength, and deep stillness. In Makrasana Dve. मकरासनं नाम उरसा भूमिं स्पृशन्तं शनैः पादौ च पृष्ठे उत्थाप्य मकराकारं समाचरेत्. The next is Parvatasana Dve. In Parvatasana Dve, sitting in Vajrasana, sitting on your knees with your toes tucked under your support and your spine lifted tall, and crossing your arms in front of your chest, keeping your shoulders relaxed and with your palms holding the just above the elbows. Holding your hands just above the elbows, keeping your eyes open and steady, gazing outwards while the awareness rests deeply within. In Rajika Kumbhaka, which is exhaling fully and holding the breath out while remaining steady and aware and contracting your pelvic muscles in Mula Bandha with the straight gaze with the chant Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham, visualizing yourself as a mountain, solid, unmoving, and unaffected by the weather passing through it. In Parvatasana Dve. Parvatasana. Next is Vrishabhasana Dve. Now in Vrishabhasana Dve, start, start kneeling with the knees hip width apart and gently lean on to one side and lower that elbow to the floor beside your body and keeping it firmly for your support. Maintaining a soft neck and keep your shoulder back of the supporting arm gently engaged. In Shambhavi Mudra, keeping the eyes open and steady, gazing outwards. In Rajaka Kumbhaka, which is exhaling fully and holding the breath out while remaining steady and aware. In Moola Bandha, which is finally contracting the pelvic muscles with the straight gaze with the japa Om Nityananda Paramashivoham, visualizing yourself as a powerful bull standing firm and steady on the earth beneath you. In Vrishabhasana Dve, कोपरौ स्तम्भवत्कृत्वा पार्श्वेनैकेन संश्रयेत् येत प्रोक्तं मया देवी वृषभासनमुत्तमं सर्वरोगविता तार्थे प्रोक्तं एतं महात्मभिः. The next is Virasana Trini. In Virasana Trini, you're going to come onto your knees, start seated with your legs uncrossed. Now bring your left foot to the side of your left hip, keeping it grounded. Then draw your right foot close to your groin, resting your toes slightly on the right thigh. Place your hands on your laps, one above the other, and keeping your eyes open and gaze steady in Shambhavi Mudra. Rajaka Kumbhaka, which is exhaling fully and holding the breath out while remaining steady and aware, contracting your pelvic muscles in Mula Bandha with the gaze at the third eye with the japa Om Nityananda Paramashivoham, visualizing yourself seated like a hero after a victorious journey, firmly grounded with the legs strong and supportive beneath you. In Virasana Trini, वीरासनम् एकपादमध्ये कस्मिन् विन्यसेद्दुरु संस्थितम् इतरस्मिन् तथा There was a brief internet outage in KAILASA. Can you so we are back online? We'll be continuing with the Chatuskonasana, which is asana number 709. Okay, so in Chatuskonasana, you are bending your right knee by the right hip, and then you're bending your left leg and threading your left arm underneath the, which is while firmly contracting the pelvic muscles in Prithvi Drishti, which is the downward gaze with the japa Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham, visualizing yourself as a stable and clear from every direction, like a structure supported evenly at four corners. In Chatushkonasana. Chatushkonasana. The next is Vama Ujasana. Asana number 710 in Vamabhujasana, you're going to be seated with one leg drawn to your groin and opposite foot flat on the ground with the knee raised, lengthening your spine as you begin to lean your torso and away from the lifted knee. If your left knee is raised, then lower your right elbow to the ground on the outside of your right hip, allowing your body to settle down comfortably. Press the outside of your right cheek into your right palm with support and placing your left hand gently on your left thigh. Do the Shambhavi Mudra, which is keeping your eyes open and steady while exhaling fully and holding the breath out while remaining steady and aware in Rechaka Kumbhaka and for contracting the perineal muscles in Mula Bandha with the gaze downwards with the japa Om Nityananda Paramashoham, visualizing yourself resting with full trust as if leaning into the support of a strong, reliable arm that does not give way in Vamabhujasana. Vamabhujasana. The next asana is Swasagatyasana. In Swasagatyasana, asana number 711, you are seated with one leg flat on the ground and the spine upright, lifting the opposite foot and placing it on the grounded foot and keeping the toe steady for balance, keeping your body upward, keeping your upper body forward as you shift your weight gradually onto the supporting foot, allowing your body to raise so you balance on the single set of toes. In Shambhavi Mudra, which is keeping your eyes open and steady, exhaling fully and holding the breath out in Rechaka Kumbhaka and holding your muscles, contracting your pelvic muscles in Mula Bandha and your gaze downwards with the japa Om Nityananda Paramashoham, visualizing the breath and movement becoming one continuous action in Swasagatyasana. Swasagatyasana. The next is Vrishabhasana. Vrishabhasana Dve, which is Parshvantare, which is here the doing, we are repeating it on the opposite side. Now in Vrishabhasana Dve, you are going to be seated with your knees hip width apart. Gently lean onto one side and lower that elbow to the floor besides the body and placing it firmly for support. Keeping your opposite arms relaxed and resting on the thigh or as you ask. Keeping your eyes open and steady in Shambhavi Mudra, and you're exhaling fully and holding the breath out in Rechaka Kumbhaka, contracting the pelvic muscles in Molabandha with the straight gaze with the Japa Om Nityananda Paramashoham, visualizing yourself as a powerful bull standing firm and steady on earth beneath you in Vrishabhasana Dve. Vrishabha Korparau स्तम्भवत् कृत्वा पार्श्वेनैकेन संश्रयेत् येत प्रोक्तं मया देवी वृषभासनमुत्तमम् सर्वरोगविधार्तार्थे प्रोक्तं एतं महात्मभिः. The next is Virasana Trini Parshvantare, where you're doing it on the opposite side. Now, in Virasana Trini Prashantare, you are now seated with your legs uncrossed, bringing your left foot to the side of your left hip and keeping it grounded, drawing your right foot close to your groin and resting your toes slightly on the right thigh, placing your hands on your lap in Shambhavi Mudra, which is keeping your eyes open and steady, and exhaling fully and holding the breath out in Rajika Kumbhaka, folding the contracting the pelvic muscles in Mula Bandha and having the gaze on the third eye with Japa Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham, with visualizing yourself seated like a hero after a victorious journey, firmly grounded with the legs strong and supporting the breath. Chatushkonasana Parshvantare. Now in Chatishkonasana, which is doing left palm by the side of the right ear and holding the right palm. In Shambhavi Mudra, which is keeping your eyes open and steady, Kumbhaka, visualizing the visualize, exhale fully and holding the breath out in Mula Bandha, formally contracting the pelvic muscles and having the downward gazing with the japa Om Nityananda Paramashivoham, visualizing yourself as a stable and clear from every direction, like a structure supported evenly at all four corners. In Chatushkonasana, Parshvantare, we are started seating with one heel drawn in towards your groin and the opposite foot flat to the ground with the knee raised, lengthening your spine as you begin to lean your torso down and away from the lifted knee. If if your left knee is raised, now lower your right elbow to the ground on the opposite side of your right lap, allowing your body to settle comfortably and with keeping rest the outside of your right cheek on your right palm for support and placing your left hand gently on your inner thigh in Shambhavi Mudra, which is keeping your eyes open and steady. In Rajika Kumbhaka, which is exhaling fully, holding the breath out with the chant Om Nityananda Paramashoham, visualizing yourself resting with full trust as if leaning into the support of a strong, reliable arm that does not give away in Dakshina Bhujasana Traini. Dakshina Bhujasana. The next is Swasagatyasana Parshvantare, which is moving to the opposite side, keeping your right knee bent and your left knee above, with your left knee up, lifting the opposite floor and placing it on the ground floor, keeping the toes steady for balance. Lean the upper body forward as you shift your weight gradually onto the supporting foot and keeping your eyes open and steady in Shambhavi Mudra, exhaling fully and holding the breath out in Rejaka Kumbhaka in Mola, which is formally contracting the pelvic muscles with the gaze downwards with the Japa Om Nityananda Paramashivoham, visualizing the breath and the movement becoming one continuous action, no separation between inhale, balance, effort, and stillness in Swasagatyasana Parshvantare Swasagatyasana. The next is Mukta Padmasana. Now in Mukta Padmasana, you're going to be seated with your feet crisscrossed in Padmasana and then lean back onto your elbows and then place your upper back and the crown of your head onto the ground as you arch your back, keeping the crown of the head on the ground, arching your back while in this supine position, reach and hold on to the opposite feet and keeping your chest straightened in Prana Mudra, which is extending the index and middle finger together while the other fingers are softly inward in Kevala Kumbhaka, which is allowing your breath to cross naturally. Observe without forcing, maintaining the relaxed awareness in Mula Bandha, firmly contracting your pelvic muscles, in visualizing yourself as a lotus flower that has fully blossomed and risen above the muddy waters. In Mukta Padmasana, मुक्तपद्मासनं कृत्वा उत्थानं शयनं चरेत् कूर्मराभ्यां शिरो वेष्ट्य मत्स्यासनं तु रोगकृत. The next is Tamasana Dve. You're seated, you start seated in Padmasana, placing each foot onto the opposite thigh so the soles face upward and the knees rest comfortably towards the ground. Lengthen your spine and interlace your fingers behind your back, drawing your shoulders gently towards each other. Lean your upper body forward, guiding your forehead down towards the ground. In keeping your hands in Parasha Mudra, and Jiva Kumbhaka, which is inhaling and through the will, the prana, visualizing that the prana flowing through the limbs of your body in upward and downward directions in the Jiva Kumbhaka, in Mulabandha, contracting the perineal muscles with your gaze downwards with the Japa Om Nithyananda Paramashiva Om, visualizing all your inner currents leveling out as if even waves of energy are settling into a slow, steady, balanced flow in Samasana Dve. Samasana, Samanasana. The next is Trikonasana Dve. Now in Trikonasana Dve, which is bending your left, bending your right, bending your foot at the right knee with the right foot by the side of your right hip. Start seated in a cross-leg position and rotate one knee inward, bringing the knee onto the ground with the inner ankle touching the ground outside of the hip. Bringing your hands to your stomach, one resting over the other, keeping your upper body remaining steady in Sambuddha Mudra, which is your hands together like a closed lotus, enclosing and protecting the energy in Jivachana Kumbhaka. One forcibly moves retained prana through the limbs of the body in upward and downward directions, contracting the pelvic muscles in Mula Bandha with the Japa Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham with the gaze at the tip of the nose, visualizing yourself as a channel to the infinite cosmos while the body remains grounded onto the Mother Earth in Trikonasana Dvaya. योगजन्यहस्तलिखितपुस्तकस्य प्रथमपत्रे सप्तदशचित्रे त्रिकोणासनं प्रकाशितम्. The next asana is Panditasana, which is the scholar pose. Now in Panditasana, you're going to be seated effortlessly, seated on the ground with your spine tall and the hips grounded. Cross one foot onto the opposite thigh, allowing the wrist to relax downwards, resting your hands gently on your thighs and forming the Bindu Mudra by touching the index finger and thumb together on each hand. Slightly touch the tip of your index fingers to the thumb, allowing the awareness to gather to a single point and Jivachla Kumbhaka, which is inhaling and ensuring that the prana is spreading all over the body in upward and downward directions with your straight gaze with the Japa Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham, visualizing and imbibing the mind of a true scholar. In Panditasana, Panditasana. The next is Janu Shirasasana. Now in Janu Shirasasana, you're seated with your legs extended forward, bending one knee and placing the heel close to the perineum with the opposite leg extended towards, reaching forward to grasp the big toe of the extended leg with your fingers, palms, keeping your palms straight, lengthening your spine, lifting your chest, and holding steady the breath while maintaining the posture in Shambhavi Mudra, which is keeping your eyes open and steady, and Mula Bandha, which is firmly contracting the muscles of your pelvic floor in Nasagra Drishti, having the gaze at the tip of the nose with Japa Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham, visualizing yourself as Lord Ganesha, calm and wise and humble. Visualizing in Janu Shirasasana, Janu Shirsasanam Nama Yekapadam Prasarya Cha Aparam Janu Ninyasya Shirasa Janu Spre Next is the Yan- Yantrakarasana. Now in Yantrakarasana, keeping your right heel at the perineum and clasping the outside of the left foot with your right hand. Slowly extend your left leg up and strengthening your knee, placing the left down onto the ground, strengthening your arm so the back of your knee is at the level of your elbow, pressing your left hand down onto your ground. In Shambhavi Mudra, which is keeping your eyes open and steady, gazing outwards while the awareness places deeply within. In Jivachakopaka, which is one forcibly moving the retained prana through all the limbs of the body. In Moolavandha, which is your extreme contracting the pelvic muscles in Moolavandha with the gaze by the side in Prashvadrishti with the japa Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham, visualizing yourself embodying the yantra, expressing geometry, allowing with its female harmony. Having the Mulabandha, which is contracting the pelvic muscles with the Parshvadrishti, the gaze to the side with the japa Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham, visualizing yourself embodying the yantra's precise geometry, aligning with its cosmic harmony in Yantra Karasana. यन्त्रकारस्नं नाम हस्तपादाभ्यां भूमिं स्पृशन् कोणत्रयमधिष्ठाय यन्त्ररचनामिव चारयेत्. The next asana is Ardha Bhujasana. In Ardha Bhujasana, which is bending your knees by your neck and the other foot resting on top of the left foot resting on top of the right shoulders and bringing your palms, elbows beneath the right foot and touching the right ear. In Shanbhavi Mudra, keeping your eyes open and and steady gazing outward in Jivachara Kumbhaka, which is exactly moving the hidden prana throughout the limbs of the body up and down. In Jivajalakumbhaka, Moola Bandha, which is firmly contracting the muscles of the pelvic floor and in a straight gaze, visualizing yourself holding the power close to the body in a controlled, contained, and deliberate rather than scattered position in Ardha Bhujasana. The next asana is Dakshina Padmastakasana. Next is Dakshina Padmastakasana. Now in Dakshina Padmastakasana, you're going to bring in your right foot by the perineum, lifting the right foot over your shoulders. Apologies. In Dakshina Pada Mastakasana, you are keeping your left heel drawn towards the perineum to create a steady base, lifting your right leg and guiding it over the right shoulder, allowing the foot to wrap behind your back as your hip opens, keeping your spine long as you bring your hands together in Namaskara Mudra in front of your chest. With Japa Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham, visualizing the discipline placed above the impulse as if the front foot over the head represents mastery over instinct and arrogance. In Dakshina Pada Mastakasana. Dakshina Pada Mastakasana. The next is Udasina Natasana. Udasina Natasana. In Udasina Natasana, you are keeping your seated in a comfortable cross-leg position such as Sukhasana, bending one arm and bringing the elbow onto the thigh, resting the side of your face onto the respective palm. Place the opposite palm on the placing the hands on the chin, placing the opposite hand on the opposite knee and remaining still in Shambhavi Mudra, keeping your eyes open and steady in Jivachala Kumbhaka, which is forcing one forcibly moving the right hand prana upward and downward with the power of the will in the Mula Bandha, which is firmly contracting the muscles of the pelvic floor, lifting upward with visualization, which is visualizing your true self not as a body but as a consciousness. In Udasinata सम्यक् स्थित्वा सुखासने सखे सुखासने स्वे जानुनोर्ध्वमस्कपौरौ संस्थाप्य करतले शिरधृत्ते. The next is Trikonasana Swe, Trikonasana Dve, Pashvantare. Trikonasana Dve, Pashvantare. You're seated in a cross-legged position, rotating the one knee inward, bringing the knee onto the ground with the inner ankle touching the ground outside the hip, bringing your hands on your stomach. One resting over the other, keeping your upper body steady and remaining there in Sambuddha Mantra, which is your hands, cupping both the hands together in a closed cups. In Jivajala Kumbhaka, which is for in Sambuddha Mudra, which is cupping your hands together like a closed lotus and enclosing and protecting the energy in Jivachala Kumbhaka, which is forcibly moving the retained prana upward and downward with the help of your mind, along with the mind in Mula Bandha, contracting the in Pandita Asana Parshvantare. We are in Trikonasana Dve. Yoga Jaina Hasta Likita Pustakatya Pratamapatre Saptadasha Chitre Trikonasanam Prakashitam. Next, we move on to Panditasana Parshvantare with your sitting. Start sitting on the ground with your spine tall and the hips grounded, crossing one foot on the opposite thigh, allowing the knee to relax downward, resting your hand gently on your thigh, forming the Bindu Mudra by touching the index finger and the thumb together on each hand, keeping your eyes open and the shoulders relaxed as you keeping your shoulders relaxed as you settle into the posture. Bend the mudra with your thumb, with the tip of your index finger and the thumb, allowing the awareness to gather to a single point in Jivachala Kumbhaka, which is one forcibly moving the retained prana through the limbs of the body in upward and downward directions, and Mula Bandha, firmly contracting the pelvic muscles with the straight gaze, visualizing and imbibing the mind of a true scholar in Panditasana. Panditasana. The next posture, the next asana is Janu Shirasasana Pashvantare. Now in Janu Shirasasana, start seated with your legs extended forward, bending one knee and placing the heel close to the perineum with the opposite leg extended straight and reach forward. The opposite leg, reach forward to the grasping the big toe of the extended leg with your fingers, keeping your arms straight, lengthening your spine, lifting your chest, and holding the steady breath while maintaining the posture in Jivachala Kumbhaka, which is a forcibly move, retain prana through all the limbs of the body in upward and downward directions, and firmly contracting the muscles of the pelvic floor with the gaze at the tip of the nose with the Om Nithyananda Paramashiva. Om. With the japa Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham, visualizing yourself focused and serene, drawing inward in head to knee pose in Janu Shirasasana. Janu Shirsasanam Nama Yekapadam Prasaryam Cha Janu Aparam Janu Ninyasya Shirasa Janu Sprishedhyata. The next offering is Yantra Karasana Prashwantare. In Yantra Karasana Prashwantare, which is from your seated position, placing your left heel at the perineum and clasping the outside of your right foot with your left hand, slowly extending the right leg out, strengthening the knee, and then placing your right hand on the ground, strengthening your arm so the back of your knee is at the level of your elbow, and contracting your muscles, pelvic muscles and Moola having the drishti, the gaze to the side, with the japa Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham, visualizing yourself embodying the yantra's precise geometry, aligning with its cosmic harmony in Yantrakara Asana. Yantrakarasana Nama Hastapadabhyam Bhumim Shvasan Konetrayamadishtaya Yantra Chanamiva Dharayet. The next, moving on to Ardha Bhujasana Parshvantare. In Ardha Bhujasana Parshvantare, you can be seated up with your spine. Now, in Ardha Bhujasana, you are going to lift your right foot over your right shoulder and bringing your right elbow underneath the right foot and keeping your palms onto the ears while your opposite leg is bent at the knee with um, the heel nearly touching the perineum. In Ardha Bhujasana, start sitting on the ground with your left leg drawn, keeping your and up in Jiva Kumbhaka and visualizing yourself butting, holding the power close to your body in Ardha Bhujasana. Ardha Bhujasana. The next asana is Vamapada Mastakasana. In Vamapada Mastakasana, you are seated with your right foot to your right groin and your left leg lifted behind your neck, behind your back, and behind in hands in the Namaskara Mudra with the palms together before the heart in the gesture of offering and respect. In Jivachala Kumbhaka, which is one forcibly moving the retained prana through the limbs of the body in upward and downward directions along with the mind. In Molabandha, which is firmly contracting the muscles of the pelvic floor in the straight gaze. On the opposite side, Udasina Dasana, Pashwantare. Now we are doing on the opposite side, sitting in a comfortable posture like Sukhasana, bending one arm and bringing the elbow onto the thigh, resting your face onto the opposite palm, placing the opposite hand onto the opposite knee with the Shambhavi Mudra, which is keeping your eyes open and steady, gazing outwards, while the awareness is deeply within in Jivachala Kumbhaka, forcibly moving the retained prana upward and downward with the help of your will in Mola Bandha. With the straight gaze, with the japa Om Nithyananda Paramashiva, visualizing your true self, not as a body but as a conscious luminous point of energy in Udasinata पादमाकुञ्च सम्यक् स्थित्वा सुखासनेखे जानुनोर्ध्वमस् ऊर्ध्वं मस्कपोरौ संस्थाप्य करदले शिरदत्ते. The next asana is Hastasana Dve. Now in Hastasana Dve, you are bringing your feet behind your head. Start seated with your spine long and your core engaged for support, lifting both the legs and guiding them upward and behind your head, keeping the soles of your feet separated while rather than touching, placing your hands flat on the ground in front of your groin to stabilize the posture with the Shambhavi Mudra, which is keeping the eyes open and steady, gazing outwards, while the awareness lies deeply within in Jivachala Kumbhaka, which is forcibly moving the retained prana through the limbs of your body upward and downward in Mula Bandha, in the gaze towards your third eye, visualizing your hands as an instrument of control and precision capable of stabilizing even the most demanding situations. In Hastasana Dve, Hastasana. Next is Sagara Gandha Asana. Next is Sagara Gandha Asana. In Sagara Gandhasana, you are going to be seated. Start seated with the one leg above your head and crossing it behind your back onto the opposite side. Repeat with the opposite leg, crossing it behind the other. Bringing the hands into fist into front of your perineum, asking one above the other, keeping your quite long and bench healthy. Keeping the eyes open and steady, keeping your outwards without awareness and steady, and the deeply within in Jivajalakumbhaka, which is firmly contracting the muscles of your pelvis. In Sagaragandhasana, Sagaragandhasana. Next is Tira Gupa Goda Pada Shirasasana. Now you start seated with your spine tall and your core engaged for stability. Lift both your legs and guide them carefully behind your head, adjusting your hips and shoulders to find a balanced position. Once your legs are secure, bring your hands together in Namaskara Mudra in front of your chest, keeping your elbows relaxed. In Namaskar, keeping your hands in Namaskara Mudra in Chivachara Kumbhaka, one forcibly moving the retained prana through in upward and downward direction along with the mind and contracting your pelvic muscles in Mola Bandha, visualizing absolute steadiness in extreme position where control overrides instability and nothing feels rushed or chaotic. In the with Rajyudrishti, the straight gaze, and the chant Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham in Sthira Kuda Pada Shirasasanam. Shirasanam. Sthira Kuda Pada Shirasanam. The next is Himalaya Asana. Himalaya pose. Next is Himalayasana. In Himalayasana, start seated and bending your knees so feet come flat onto the ground. Wrap your arms underneath the knee joints from inside to place hands on top of your head. In Shirsi Mudra, resting the hand lightly upon the head, maintaining the stillness of the breath and mind, and Jivachala Kumbhaka, one forcibly moving the retain prana through the limbs of your body in upward and downward directions, and Mula Bandha, firmly contracting the muscles of the pelvic floor, and Nasagra Drishti, which is the gaze at the tip of the nose with the chant Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham, visualizing yourself as a mountain mass lifting effortlessly from the earth in Himalayasana. Himalayasana. The next is Tanukubjasana. In Tanukubjasana, you are seated. Start seated and bend your knees so feet come flat onto the ground. Wrap your arms underneath the knee joints from the outside and holding the opposite elbows, engaging your core and with the gaze open and steady in Shambhavi Mudra with the Jivachala Kumbhaka, which is one forcibly moving the right hand prana upward and downwards in Jivachala Kumbhaka with the Mula Bandha firmly contracting the muscles of the pelvic floor and visualizing your body as a slender and continue drawing the strength inward in Mula Bandha, contracting the perineal muscle in Rajyo Drishti with chant Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham, visualizing your body slender and convinced, drawing the strength inward in Tanu Kubjasana. The next is Veera Vankasana. In Veera Vankasana, you are seated with your thighs together and spine tall. Lift your legs up off the ground vertically. Then you're seated with your thighs together and spine tall, lifting your legs off the ground vertically and then bringing your hands behind your knee joints in keeping your eyes open and steady in Shambhavi Mudra with the one forcibly moving the radiant prana up and down along the spine in Jivachala Kumbhaka, which is contracting your pelvic muscles in Mula Bandha with the straight gaze with the chant Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham, visualize embodying the hero composed under pressure in Veeravankasana. Veeravankasana. The next is away from your ears. Cupping both the palms together like a closed lotus in Samputa Mudra in Jivajala Kumbhaka. In Mahamudra Bandha, which is contracting the pelvic floor, tucking the chin to the chest, and drawing the abdomen in and up with the gaze at the tip of the nose with the chant Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham, visualizing Goddess Parvati, gentle strength and unwavering devotion in Parvati Asana Dve. Daupado Melayatvato Dukagre Cha Pratak Nyaset Bhumau tadurdvam chakarho sambuto stapaye tadaha. The next is the Apana Gamanasana. In Apana Gamanasana, you are bringing your right foot by your groin, seated in Padmasana, placing each foot onto the opposite thigh so the soles face upwards and the knees settle comfortably towards the ground, lengthening your spine and softening your shoulders as you ground through your sitting bones, resting your hands on your lap with the hands gently placed on top of each other with the both palms facing upward. In Samputa Mudra, you're cupping your palms together like a closed lotus. In, Ji- in Jivachala Kumbhaka, in Mola Bandha, in the straight gaze with the chant Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham, visualizing the energy moving downward in a smooth, uninterrupted flow like a river returning calmly to the earth. In Apana Gamana Asana. The next is Sthira Sukhasana. In Sthira Sukhasana, please be seated in a comfortable posture. Your um, bending both the legs inwards and pressing the heel against the perineum, keeping your spine upright, body evenly balanced, with the hands in the ring finger above the extended middle finger and touching the thumbs together, drawing the awareness inward. In Shanta Kumbhaka, inhaling and visualizing the prana vayu being inside and outside the body. In Moolavandha, firmly contracting the muscles of the pelvic floor, lifting upward without any tension. Visualizing yourself seated in unwavering stability, deeply supported by the steady presence of the Supreme Point of Hinduism in Sthira Sukhasana. पादाभ्यां द्वयोः आकुञ्चितयो अन्योन्यपीडनं येन अवस्थितस्य स्थैर्यसुखं च जायते स्थिरसुखम् आसनम् इति. The next asana is Simhasana Trini Purvanga. In Simhasana Trini Purvanga, you're seated um, in a low squat, joining the soles of your feet evenly in a coiled posture with the knees wide, facing both the arms firmly on your secret center. Inhaling swiftly through the nose, engaging your core as you hold the breath, lifting the hips off the ground with a steady, strong control. Spreading your arms wide and flaring your chest openly, proudly like a regal lion. In Vaishnavi Mudra, holding your outer vision steady without blinking, while the awareness remains inwardly absorbed in Jivachala Kumbhaka, forcibly moving the retained prana through the limbs of your body in upward and downward directions in Mula Bandha, with your gaze at the tip of the nose, with the in Jivachala Kumbhaka, in Mula Bandha, with the gaze at the tip of the nose, in with the chant Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham, visualizing yourself as a majestic, bold lion. In Simhasana Trini Purvanga, Chakrabande Padadale Same Samamaiva Samyojayet Gupte Deshe Hastadvayam Dridamad Paya Shighram Purayet. Next, moving on to Simhasana Trini. Now, in Simhasana Trini, you are seated. You stand seated with the soles of your feet together in front of you, holding the outer vision steady without blinking while the awareness remains absorbed within. In Jivachala Kumbhaka, which is one forcefully moving the retained prana, inhale and exhale. In Jivachala Kumbhaka, in Mula Bandha, with the gaze at the tip of the nose, with the chant from Nithyananda Paramashivoham, visualizing yourself as a majestic, bold lion in Simhasana Trini, Chakrabande Padatale Samam Samyojya Gohyasthane Hasta Yukme Dridam Nidhaya Shigram Purayet. The next is Gradasana Purvanga. Now in Gradasana Purvanga, you're seated in a lower squat with your feet close together and balancing as you're sitting, bones over against just above your ground. Wrapping your hands around your sitting bones from the outside, clasping your hands securely in the front and Vaishnava Mudra, Jivachal Kumbhaka, Mola Bandha. The gaze at the straight gaze with the Japa Om Nithyananda Paramashoham, visualizing a wise vulture soaring above and embodying the keen perception and spiritual action in Grida Asana Purvanga. In Gridasana Purvanga, Oru Prishtamarge Hastadvayam Nitva Patyagre Dridhataya Badvasam Yojya. The next is the Bhutayasana. In Bhutayasana, you are seated in a deep squatting position with your feet together and your heels touching the perineum, wrapping your arms around your legs and reaching around your back to clasp your hands behind your back with your forehead gently um, down and Parashumadra, placing the palm upon the palm and interlacing the fingers firmly in Jivachala Kumbhaka, which is moving the prana upward and downward with the help of your will. In Mulabandha, with the gaze at the tip of the nose, with the chant Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham, and visualizing your body gathering into a deemed part core of your existence in Bhutai Asana. Naradiya Samhita Bhutai Asana. The next is Gridasana. In Gridasana, you're starting in a lower squat with your feet almost together, balancing. So you're sitting bones over just above the ground. Wrap your arms around your knees, reaching under the thighs and sitting bones in Vaishnavi Mudra, in Jivachala Kumbhaka, in Mulabandha, in Gridasana. Chakrabande Kati Mutshipya Jano Prishte Niveshayet Gulpayo Prishte Hastadvayam Kirtyasam Padayet. The next asana is Simhasana Trini Uttaranga. Now in Simhasana Trini Uttaranga, you start in a low squat with your feet close together and sitting bones hovering just above the ground. Bend forward slightly and slide your left hand's palms down onto the ground, placing them between your thighs, keeping your chest lifted and your spine long, holding the back of your hands firmly and the respiration there. Placing your hands, back of your hands firmly within both the feet, so your hands are sandwiched between your thighs and the soles of your feet, and holding the outer vision steady without balancing while the awareness remains internally lovely absorbed. In Jivachala Kumbhaka, one forcibly moves at 18 positions. So in Mulabandha and the straight gaze with the Japa Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham, visualizing yourself as a growing, determined lion. And in Simhasana Trini Uttaranga, in Padadvayena Ashtaprishtam Dridam Nipidayet, Shwasani Trodha Visargau Saptavaram Samacharet. The next is Muktai Asana. Next in Muktai Asana, Starting in a kneeling position with your spine tall and knees together, try to bring your sitting bones down onto the ground and then spread your legs wide while keeping your knees onto the ground in front of you in Vaishnavi Mudra, holding the outer vision steady without blinking while awareness remains deeply within. In Jivachila Kumbhaka, one forcibly moving the retained prana through the limbs of the body in upward and downward directions, and Mola Bandha, which is firmly contracting the pelvic muscles, lifting the upward without tension, with the straight gaze and with the japa Om Nithyananda Paramashiva. Oham. In Mukta Asana. Mukta Asana. Next is Trikonasana 3D. In Trikonasana 3D, start sitting on your knees and slowly spread your knees wide apart, bringing your ankles wide as well as the fullest comfortable distance, keeping your upper body vertical as you lengthen your abilities. Your hands together in the Namaskara Mudra and keeping your palms together in the heart center and Jivachila Kumbhaka, which is one forcibly moving the right prana inward and upward and downward with the help of your will. In Mulabandha with the straight gaze, with the japa Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. In Mulabandha with the straight gaze, with the japa Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham, visualizing yourself supported by the three clear points, forming a subtle triangle that cannot collapse. With the Trikonasana 3D, which is in Trikonasana, in Trikonasana 3D, Trikonasana. Next is Saraswati Asana. Start seated with your legs extended straight in front of you, spine tall, and toes flexed around you. Inhale to strengthen your spine, and then exhale as you hinge forward from the hip to grasp your feet or shin. Keeping your spine along without rounding and focusing and drawing your navel towards your knees in Prana Mudra. And Jivachala Kumbhaka, one forcibly moving the radiant prana through the limbs of your body, upward and downward in Mula Bandha, visualizing Goddess Saraswati's unique gifts, flowing wisdom, unique pure eloquence, and creative insight arising through the steady perceptivity, refining perception, and luminous reality. In Saraswati Asana, Saraswati Asana. Next is Asti Pavasana. In Asti Pavasana, you start seated with your feet together, forming the sitting posture and knees out wide. Lean your forehead down onto the ground for depth. Extend your arms out to the side above the respective knees, keeping your spine long and avoid rounding your neck back. In Vaishnavi Mudra, keeping your outer vision steady without blinking, while awareness remains fully absorbed in Jivachila Kumbhaka, which is your forcibly visualizing a deep surrender, emptying gas weight onto the ground in Asti Pavasana. Asana. In Parumasanam Chatvari. Now, in Karumasanam Chatvari, you are seated with your legs extended straight out wide and knees locked, angled comfortably onto the sides. Now, slowly hinge forward from your hips and lowering your chest down towards the ground so it rests fully on the floor. Extend your arms together and straight out to the muscles. Pressing your shoulders gently down towards the floor in Vaishnavi Mudra, in Jivachala Kumbhaka, in Moolabandha with the gaze at the tip of the nose and Asagra Drishti. In Moolabandha and Asagra Drishti, and with the Japa Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham, visualizing yourself as a serene sea turtle gliding effortlessly through the vast ocean in Kurmasanam Chatvari. Kurumasanamapi Shreshtam Duchyate Gajasanam Sam Modi Drishtam Tatodvam Sa Tatodvam Dasanamuchyate. The next is Jalakasana Purvanga. Now in Jalakasana Purvanga, now in Jalakasana Purvanga, start seated with your legs extended straight out and with your wide and your knees locked, bringing soles of the feet together with the knees angled to the side. Slowly hinge forward from your hips and lowering your chest onto the ground so it rests onto the floor. Extending your arms beneath your um, your underneath thighs and placing the palms down, placing your shoulders drawn towards your floor, keeping them relaxed and broad. In Vaishnavi Mudra and Jivachalakumbhaka, Mula Bandha, having the gaze at the above the nose and visualizing yourself as a silent spider waving a delicate web at dawn. In Jalakasana Purvanga, नितम्बादस्पृष्टे भुजौ निवेश्य प्रसार्य पादाङ्गुष्ठ औरिक्यं कण्ठेन सम्यक् कुर्यात्. The next is Jalakasana. In Jalakasana, you're seated with your legs straight out wide and your knees locked, bringing the soles of your feet together with the knees angled comfortably on the side. Slowly hinge forward from your hips and fully resting fully on the floor. Pressing your shoulders gently down towards the floor, aiming to keep them relaxed and broad, and you're holding your afterward vision without blinking your awareness, remaining inwardly absorbed in Jiva Kumbhaka, visualizing yourself as waiting as a white spider patiently waiting at the center of your intricate web. In Jalakasana, in Chakrabandhe Hastadvayam Janu Prishtakahe Niveshya Bhumau प्रसारितांगश्वासेन नोदरं व्याधाय प्रविशेत. The next is Jalakasana Uttaranga. Now in Jalakasana Uttaranga, same as the previous posture. However, your You're bringing the soles of your feet together with your knees comfortably angled comfortably to the side. Slowly hinge forward from your hips, lowering your chest down towards the ground as your forehead rests onto your feet. From underneath the thighs, firmly contracting the muscles of the pelvic floor, lifting upward without tension in Nasakra Drishti with chanting Om Nithyananda Paramashiva, visualizing yourself as a mystical spider spinning luminous threads under a moonlit sky. In Jalakasana Uttaranga, गुल्फसं दिशो हस्तद्वयम् आध्वाय ग्रीवापृष्ठे दृढं बध्नीतम् शून्यकाकुम्भकं सप्तकृत्वक् संयम्य ततः शिरो भवेत्. The next asana is Budai Asana. Budai Asana is also similar to the Jalakasana Uttaranga. In Mudayasana, you are with your gaze in the Vaishnava Mudra, holding the outer vision steady without blinking inwards. In Jivachala Kumbhaka, Mula Bandha, Nasagra Drishti, Om Nithyananda Paramashoham, with the visualizing the awareness spreading evenly through the body as you settle into a complete release. With retention, feel the energy flows through the limbs, dissolving effort and quickly maintaining movement. The mind rests without seeking in Budai Asana. Budaya Asana. The next is Kurmasana Pancha. In Kurmasana Pancha, in Kurmasana Pancha, seated with your legs extended straight, with your straight out wide, and bringing the soles of the feet together with the knees angled to the side. Slowly hinge forward from your hips and lower your chest onto your um lower your chest down to your forehead. Rest on your knees in front of your feet. In Kurmasana, which is drawing your senses inward, becoming still and withdrawn like a tortoise within its shell in Jivachala Kumbhaka. One forcibly moves the retained prana through the limbs of your body in upward and downward directions. In Monabandha, with the gaze at the tip of the nose, in Kurmasana Pancha. Kurmasanam Nama Padau Parshvayor Prasare Haste Ucha Prishte Vidva Kurma Kurmavat Vijrambet. The next asana is Simhasana Chatur Uttaranga. Now in Kurmasana Chatur Uttaranga, you're seated with your legs extended and your knees bent. Keeping your gaze in the Vaishnava Mudra in Jivachala Kumbhaka, Pranayama in Jivachala Kumbhaka, and having the Mula Bandha with the straight gaze. With the Japa Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. The next is Simhasana Chatur Uttaranga. Sorry, the next is Uttita Kurmasana. In Uttita Kurmasana, you start seated with your legs extended straight out in the front, placing your hands palms flat beside your hips, fingers forward, and bending your elbows deeply and slide straight legs over your arms so calf and ankles rest on the back of your bent elbows. Press the legs firmly onto the arms, lifting your hips and parallel to the ground. In Kurma Mudra, drawing your senses inward, one forcibly moving the retained prana through all the limbs of the body in upward and downward directions along with the mind in Mula Bandha, which is contracting the pelvic muscles with the gaze at the tip of the nose. With the chant Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham, visualizing yourself as a wise turtle rising successfully out of the water, drawn its instinct for renewal and purpose. In Uttita Kurmasana. उत्थितकूर्मासनं नामपादौ पृष्ठस्प्रसार्य हस्तौ च पुरतः उदरम् उत्थितकूर्मासनं नाम पृष्ठतः प्रसार्य हस्तौ च पुरतः उदरं भूमेर्ऊर्ध्वं धारयन् अङ्ग in Shastrikasana Purvanga, start lying on your back, your knees bent. Keeping your shoulders relaxed and drawing away from your ears, resting your head comfortably onto the ground, gazing the soft or eyes closed. Breathe. Breathe evenly and deeply, folding your bringing your palms together at your heart in Anjali Mudra with the Ujjayi Kumbhaka Moola Bandha. Your gaze at the Urdu Drishti, upward gaze, and with the chant Om Nityananda Paramashoham, visualizing yourself as a sharp, blooming, glooming dagger, precise, focused, and unwavering. In Shastric Asana, Uttanashali Bhuya Padatala Karatani Chaturdha Samyu Bustita Bhuja Janu Deshe Kritstam Kayebhyasam Samacharet. Um, in Shastrikasana Purvanga, Uttanashaye Bhuya Padatala Karatalani Chaturdha Samyojaget. The next is start lying on your back. Sorry, the next asana is Shastrika Asana Uttaranga. In Shastrika Asana Uttaranga, you are going to start lying on your back with your feet together and the knees wide and letting gravity upon your hips. Press the balls of your feet together and the toes tucked onto the ground. Placing your hands behind your back, fingers slightly, fingers towards the feet, pressing firmly for support, engaging your core and lifting your hips, driving them upward without sinking. Let the knees flat while we modern. Let the knees flat to deepen the groin stretch in Sambhavi Mudra, Ujjayi Kumbhaka, which is slightly contracting the throat and drawing the breath slowly in through the nostril, placing the sound of the ocean, retaining the breath within in Mam, Mula Bandhasana. in Mula Bandha Mudra, and visualizing yourself as a slender, resilient dagger forged through the challenge and refined by the inner fire. In Asana Uttaranga, Trishika Agre Stapayatva Shojakshepam Samacharet Shwasa Nirodha Visargo Saptada Kritva Sthiram Tishtet. The next asana is Uttarasana Trini. The next asana is Uttarasana Trini. Sorry, Utkadasana Trini. Now, in Utkadasana Trini, you are bringing your knees onto the ground, your toes tucked beneath your sitting bones, spreading your legs wide and resting the hands on the respective knees, slowly lifting your knees off the ground, finding the balance as you do, keeping the spine elongated and the chest open, and remain balanced on the tip of your toes in Shambhavi Mudra, which is keeping your eyes open and steady. In Ujjayi Kumbhaka, which is slightly contracting the throat and drawing the breath away in through the nostrils, producing the sound of the ocean. And Mulabandha, firmly contracting the pelvic muscles, having the straight gaze with the japa Om Nithyananda Paramashiva. Kata Asana. The next is Vinyasana, which is the fish pose. Now, in the Vinyasana, you begin with your knees on the ground, toes tucked beneath your sitting bones, spreading the legs wide and resting the hands on the respective knees, slowly lifting the knees off the ground. When visualizing your fluid gaze, adaptable, resilient, and intuitive through instinctual navigation and life slowing principles. That's Asana. The next is Siddhasana. The next is in Siddhasana. Start in a kneeling position with your toes tucked and sitting bones on your back heels, spreading your knees wide and keeping your core gently for stability. Ground evenly through your knees and heels. Slowly in through the nostril, producing the sound of the ocean in Moolabandha, which is and visualize settling like a perfected guardian of stillness with a straight gaze with the chant Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. In Naradiya Samhita, bones on your back heel, spreading your knees out wide and slowly lifting the knees off the ground. Maintaining your balance, bringing your palms together above your head, keeping the elbows straight and gently rotate on one side. Holding with the core engaged as you gaze towards the ground in front of you. In Padma Mudra, join the thumbs and spreading the fingers like a blossoming lotus. In Ujjayi Kumbhaka, slightly contracting your throat and drawing the length slowly in through the nostrils and retaining the breath within and tucking your chin to the chest in Jalandhara Bandha, visualizing embodying Rama's balance, strength, flexibility, and grace. In Ramanathasana. Ramanathasana. In next is Girivaranathasana. In Girivaranathasana, start in a kneeling position with your toes tucked in and your sitting bones on your back heels. Spread your knees wide and slowly lift the knees off the ground. Maintaining your balance, bringing your palms together above your head, keeping the elbows straight and gently rotating onto one side. Hold with the core engaged in Padma Mudra, in Ujjayi Kumaka, which is slightly contracting the throat and drawing the breath slowly in through the nostril, producing the sound of the ocean. In Molabandha, in Urdhva Drishti, which is the preferred gaze, visualizing yourself as a mount lord, displaying yet rising effortlessly. The next is Girivara Nathasana. In Girivara Nathasana, the next asana is Ramanathasana Parshvantare. In Ramanathasana Parshvantare, one is seated in a kneeling position with your toes tucked in and sitting bones on your back heel, spreading your knees wide and slowly lifting the knees off the ground, maintaining your balance, bringing your palms together above your head, keeping your elbows straight, and gently keeping your knees wide and slowly lifting off the ground, maintaining your balance, keeping your palms together above your head, knees, elbows straight, and gently rotating onto one side, and joining the thumbs and spreading the fingers wide apart in Padma Mudra, slightly contracting the throat and drawing the breath slowly in through the nostrils, in producing the sound of the ocean in Jalandhar Bandha with the Prishthvi Drishti. With the chant Om Nithyananda Paramashiva, visualizing embodying Lord Rama's balancing, unwavering Guru devotion, and the fearless asceticism holding steady through tension, expressing calm authority aligned with inner dharma in Ramanathasana, Naradiya Samhita, Ramanathasana. Padma Mudra, joining your thumbs and spreading your Padma Mudra, joining your thumbs and spreading your fingers open like a blooming lotus. Ujjayi Kumbhaka, slightly contracting the throat and drawing the breath slowly in through the nostril. Bandha, and with the chant Om Nithyananda Parameshvoham in Shastrikasana. Sorry, in Girivara Nathasana. Girivara Nathasana. The next is Shastrikasana. You can relax your legs for a few minutes. Next, in Shastrikasana, start kneeling with your toes tucked and your knees spread wide. Slowly bring your heels together beneath your sitting bones, pressing the toes together, balancing your weight on them. As you release, keeping the knees wide and bent, transforming smoothly to standing, extending your arms overhead and bringing the palms together in Anjali Mudra, keeping your chest lifted and your gaze focused. In Chastrikasana, which is visualizing yourself as a tall, imposing dagger, standing firm and unshakable. In Shastrikanasana, Padangushtav um, संयम्य करद्वं द्वं शीर्षे निधाय कुञ्चितोर् जानु कोणये प्रसारित पार्श्व स्थाप्यतङ्ग्रे. The next is Garudasana Pancha. In Garudasana Pancha, you are standing on your 2 feet, but with your upper body slightly bent forward and your hands touching the back shoulders and your upper hip, and your hands touching the back shoulders, strengthening the upper back. Lean your chest forward slightly while you are keeping your back broad and steady. Place your palms on your upper back while the little fingers touching, lifting your elbows and upward as you open through the chest and maintaining the steady breath. Keeping your eyes open and steady, gazing outwards while awareness lies deeply within in Kumbhaka. In Garudasana Pancha, next asana. In Garuda Asana. Next is Padangushtasana. In Padangushtasana, standing tall. Start standing tall with your feet hip width apart. Hinge forward from your hips to fold your torso over your legs. Let your head and neck relax towards the ground, placing your hands beside your feet or holding your ankles or support. Extending your index and middle fingers together with the avoid locking your knees by keeping a soft bend, extending your index and middle fingers together while others fold softly inward. Inhale deeply through the nose, holding the breath comfortably, then releasing through the nose and firmly contracting the pelvic muscles and Mula Bandha with the gaze to the tip of the nose and chanting the japa Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. In Purvangushtasana, पादाङ्गुष्ठं कराभ्यां गृहीत्वार्ध्वं प्रसारयेत् पादाङ्गुष्ठासनं प्रोक्तं सर्वनादिविशोधनम्. Next is Dvijasanam, which is the twice born posture. In Dvijasana, you start standing with your feet together, then shifting your weight onto one leg, bending the opposite knee, bringing that foot towards your hip. Please take the help of your partner. Slowly begin to straighten the bent leg to the side and forward while balancing on your standing leg, extending your opposite arm to the side for balance in Parashamudra, Sahaja Kumbhaka, Mula Bandha, maintaining the Mula Bandha engagement throughout with a straight gaze and the chant Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Visualizing yourself with the balance of strength, grace, and transformation in Dvijasana. द्विजासनमप्यत्र कुक्कुटासनमुत्तमम् फणगुप्तरासनं चैव गरुडासनमेव च. Now, gently relax in Shavasana Chatwari. From a supine position, lay on your back with your palms facing upward. Let your feet be separated and remain completely relaxed and disengaged. Close your eyes and unclench your entire body and avoid any movements. Keeping your eyes open and steady, gazing outwards while awareness runs deeply within. In the Kevala Kumbhaka, allowing the breath to pause naturally. In Shavasana Chatwari. शिवरूपं स्वदेहं तो संविभाव्य सुसंभ्रमं तत्रैव निलयकार्यः प्राण Bringing your nose, shaking your feet, bringing your knees to the chest, moving yourself from left to right, bringing your knees to the chest, and moving yourself from left to right, shaking your hands, shaking your legs, giving a nice massage to your back as you sit up straight, keeping your hands in the Namaskara Anjali Mudra as we chant the Purna Mantra. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sarvam Bhagavat Shri Nithyananda Paramashiva Padukarpanamastu Om Nithyanandam. Thank you, everyone. Nithyanandam.